Hello everybody, and welcome to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Let me turn this down in my ears a little bit so I can talk. I've never played this one. I have seen, heard of, played, enjoyed, I just saw my cursor there, I apologize, just about every Ace Attorney game there is, except this one. This one went under my radar for the most part due to its... It was a 3DS game, if I'm not mistaken, and at the time I wasn't really buying 3DS games anymore. But yeah, this one kind of just slipped past me, and it's now on Steam, which is awesome. Picked it up for a decent price, and now we get to play it. This video is, I don't know what to expect, because again, Ace Attorney. If you don't know anything about the Ace Attorney games, it's Capcom's premier visual novel franchise. You guys know how I feel about visual novels. But the big thing about it is the fact that this game does not feature Phoenix Wright, Apollo Justice, Athena Sykes. It is all about the time of Sherlock Holmes and such. It's kind of cool. And don't worry, for anyone who's wondering, I do intend to play the other two 3DS games when the Apollo Justice collection comes out on, I think it's January or February, something like that. When it comes out, I'll pick it up and I will play Apollo Justice as well as the other two games. Just because, while I personally don't like the DS games getting this treatment, Apollo Justice onward, it makes perfect sense since the art style really lends itself well to HD upscaling. But with that out of the way, it's time to begin. So there's two games, the Great Ace Attorney Adventures, the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. I haven't played either of them, so let's just jump in. I did get an error when the game first started. It seems to be a pretty common issue on Steam, but something about just like, in order to see videos out of Kodak.
After opening its doors, a push for cultural transformation brought great waves of Western influence to this far eastern island nation. The revolution washed over the land, making life in the capital exciting and unsettling. It was a period of great change, and some was swept away by the tide.
I love the game's 2D anime cutscenes when they start doing that in 3DS games. I love it.
The turbulence of that era was just the beginning of an extraordinary story.
Hey, isn't that supposed to be us? The Adventure of the Great Departure. Anyway, what was I even saying before I got interrupted? Fuck, man, I don't know. But anyway, love it. Love everything about this. I'm so excited. I still can't believe it. I still can't believe this is happening. I'm not doing a British accent. I don't want to offend everybody. How can it be that just beyond the doors to this quiet little chamber is the highest court in Japan, waiting to decide my fate? What? Oh, no, nothing. Save your glares, murderer! Sorry. My name is, oh my god. Ryunosuke? Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a second-year student at Imperial Yume University. 3 days ago, I somehow found myself in the middle of a horrifying incident. And now, here I am, awaiting my trial. That's enough! He's not obligated to listen to such abuse, officer. And who are you? Sorry, my cat, you can probably hear her. She insists on climbing chairs as loud as humanly possible. I'm this man's lawyer. I'll be defending him today. Lawyer? Yes, and until the judge has given his verdict on the case, no one has the right to treat him as a criminal. So you will hold your tongue? Technicalities. Look at you. You haven't even graduated yet. And yet, I still seem to know better than you how court officers should behave. Right. I'm calling him Ryu, just because if I have to keep trying to say that whole name, I'm going to get cancelled. Right, Ryu? Oh, yes, of course. Sorry. What are you apologizing to me for? Oh, I suppose that wasn't my fault. But really, Kazuma, I never meant to drag you into this. I'm sorry. There you go again, apologizing. Just like always. Ah. Though I must say, you've been all over the newspapers these past few days. Yume University professor murdered in cold blood by student. But obviously, you didn't actually do it, did you? Of course not! You have to believe me! I didn't do it! I could never murder someone. Then there's nothing to worry about. Straighten yourself up. Hold your head high. You mean... I believe you. I know you're innocent, Ryu. Kazuma Asogi, my best friend, also a second year at Yume University. He's dead. He is going to die, guaranteed. But he's far more clever than I. A-star student, in fact. He's even a qualified lawyer. Impressive, considering he's still an undergraduate. It's not that impressive. The very concept of lawyers is only a few years old, here in Japan anyway. My qualifications don't mean much. Yet. You said exactly the same thing 3 days ago. But I'm proud to have a friend like you, Kazuma, truly. 3 days ago. Yes, that's when all this started. Congratulations, Kazuma. It looks like you're going to get to study abroad at last. I know, I've been forever dreaming of this day. Finally, those government elites have acknowledged my academic achievements and successes in court. So you'll be representing Japan as you immerse yourself in the most sophisticated legal system in the world. I'm really happy for you, and proud as your friend. There's not a soul in the university who doesn't know Kazuma's name. He's a living legend. It's like there's some mysterious aura billowing around his temple. I want to bring about change in our own legal system. That's why I have to cross the ocean, to see the real thing with my own eyes. Sorry, I didn't realize the characters changed. I love the Ace Attorney games. I've played them so much, and I've never actually recorded one, so this is kind of new for me. Anyway. The heart of the British Empire. I wish I could see it too. Then come with me. We'd have a wild time tearing up the streets of Her Majesty's City of London together. If only it were that simple. Oh dear, look at the time. I better be going. Alright, I'll see you later. I think I'll stay and enjoy this place a while longer. Good idea. After all, it's not every day you get to visit a high-class Western restaurant like this. See you in English class tomorrow, then, partner. It was straight after that. That's when it happened. Asogi, may I have a word? Professor, I didn't know you were coming. Well, this case has personal significance to me, but never mind that for now. Asogi, you should go immediately to the judge's chambers. To His Excellency's chambers? Why? He was looking for you before. You advocating for the defense in this trial was a sudden decision. It seems there may be some confusion about procedures today as a result. Who is this man? I feel as though I've seen him at university before. I see. I'll go at once then. I shall accompany you. Alright then. Ryu, I'll see you in the courtroom. Yeah, thanks, Kazuma. Ah, this is awkward. If I may? Yes, sorry? You must be the defendant. Rio Naruto, I believe. Yes, that's right. My name is Eugene Mikatoba. I'm a professor of forensic medicine at Yume University. Ah, Professor Mikatoba. I've heard that name from Kazuma before. As I recall, he's been pushing to get the government to agree to Kazuma studying abroad. Asogi's told me about you. You and he are best friends, I understand. By the way, that means absolutely a conflict of interest. He should not be allowed to do this, but that's actually one of the nice things about this game, from what I can tell, is, since it takes place so early in the Ace Attorney timeline, they're literally just saying, oh, the legal system has just been adopted a few years ago. A lot of the concerns and confusions about these games and their legal systems can kind of just be swept under the rug for most part. It's just saying, like, it's new. No one really knows how it works yet. I could get into a whole thing about, like, people's confusions about the legal system in these games, just because, again, I love them. One of my favorite franchises, but we don't have all day. I'm just going to enjoy some chocolate. 'Tis the season. Happy holidays, everybody, by the way. As such, I feel you should know. Oops. Know what? Well, as you've no doubt heard, Asogi's been granted permission to go and study in Great Britain. However, if he should fail to defend you today's trial, I'm afraid that permission would be revoked and never granted again. What? As I suspected, you were unaware of this. I had a feeling Asogi might have chosen not to tell you. He's agreed to defend me, knowing that if he fails, his dreams will be shattered? But I don't understand. Why would the government do such a thing? The administration has to choose from a large number of applicants for overseas studies. It's very difficult to persuade them to grant permission, even in the most favorable circumstances. I don't believe it. But I didn't do it. I swear it. I'm not a murderer. I'm sure that's true. Nevertheless, I can assure you that proving your innocence will be no easy task. You see, there are certain peculiarities about today's trial. Sorry? What do you mean? You'll soon understand once proceedings get underway. But then what should I do? Well, naturally, I'm not going to suggest doing anything that could lead to a conviction. Right, so as soon as the trial starts, the judge will pose a certain question to the defense. When that happens, you must answer before anyone else. You must say, I do. I do? But what will the question be? Surely not, do you accept the accusations brought before you? Of course not. Defendant. Court is about to begin. Proceed to the courtroom at once. It would seem our surreptitious discussions are about to be cut short. Allow me to summarize. Kazuma Asagi must not be the defense lawyer in this trial. Of course, as the defendant, the final decision is yours. What are you waiting for? Do you want to be found guilty or failing to appear? Get moving! There's no point in anyone advocating for the likes of you anyway. This is it. If this trial goes badly, Kazuma's dreams of studying abroad are over. And what's more, I'll be found guilty of murder! And so, with absolutely no idea of what lay ahead, I embarked on that unforgettable trial. My one and only chance to proving my innocence. The trial that will decide my destiny. I'm so excited. I love Ace Attorney. The 22nd of November, 9 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicia Courtroom number 2. So this is a courtroom. Who's the prosecution? I want to see him. The Supreme Court of Judicature? No court in the land has more power. I don't much like the look of those people sitting in the public gallery. Lots of military and other uniforms in there. The powers that be have demanded this be a secret trial. A secret trial? A trial that's closed to ordinary members of the public. Only military and government officials may attend. What? But why? It'll become clear in time, but for now, you need to concentrate, Ryu. It's about to begin. Look at that pain-looking motherfucker. The court will now hear the trial of Ryu Naruhodo. The prosecution is ready, Your Excellency. As is the defense. Before we begin, there is one point of order I would like to confirm. Yesterday evening, the defense made a last-minute request for a change of advocate. That's correct, Your Excellency. I made the request myself. Normal procedure is for the defendant's advocacy to be decided 2 days prior to trial. As this is an unusual circumstance, I'm obligated to ask for final confirmation now. Who advocates for the defendant in this trial? This is it. This must be the question. Who's going to defend me? That's the question the professor meant. But then, if I say I do... I need to answer quickly. What should I do? I do! Your Excellency, no confirmation is needed. As I'm standing here beside the defendant, I hope it's clear who will advocate for his defense. What is the meaning of this unruly outburst? I would like to inform the court that I, Ryu Naruhodo, will be defending myself. You'll be... what? What are you playing at, Ryu? Professor Mikotoba told me everything just now before the trial. He did what? He said that your dreams of studying abroad would be dashed if you were to lose. How sad. It means you don't have faith in me. You think I won't be able to get you off. Phrasing? No, it's not that really. It's just that, well, on the off chance that things don't go well for me, I couldn't bear to be the reason that you... Yes, I knew that's how you'd feel, which is exactly why I decided not to tell you. Professor Mikotoba shouldn't have stuck his nose in. Very well. The court hereby recognizes the defendant's desire to advocate for himself in today's trial. Well, does the accused admit defeat already? We're announcing his own counsel? Really? Make no mistake, counsel. This merely shows that the defendant's innocence is so apparent he's confident he can speak for himself. Isn't that so, Naruhodo-san? Oh, yes, exactly. Exactly what I wasn't thinking. I'm not confident at all. In fact, in my mind's a complete blank. I realize that you're in charge now, but still, try not to look so bewildered. Well, for a mere university student to be brought before the Supreme Court, you must have perpetrated the most heinous crime indeed. As you are no doubt aware, this is the Supreme Court of Judicature? I still don't know how to pronounce that. Of Japan. Accordingly, it is the very highest standards of conduct are expected for all present. Do I make myself clear, Defendant Naruhodo? Yes, Your Excellency. It is therefore my duty to assess your competence for the task you have undertaken. My competence? What does that mean? He's questioning your ability to do the job. Well, he can't be questioning more than I am. So let's start with the very simplest of questions. Oh, yes. Kindly state before the court the name of the victim in this case. Well, that's easy enough. I've heard his name more times than I care to remember. But, wait. I'm so nervous I can't even remember that. What was it again? Ryu? Let me guess, your mind's gone blank. You know me so well. All the relevant information for this case can be found in the court record. But I can't even find that! It's simple. You can access the court record with the press of the RB button. It doesn't work. Oh, shit! Hey! Retro, get the fuck out! That was weird. Sorry, mouse cursor's back. Things are acting weird. Oh, things are getting weird. Hold on. So remember, everything to do with the current case can be found in the court record. Alright. There we go. Small bug. We're back now. The victim is John H. Wilson. Now you better not keep His Excellency waiting any longer. Go on. Find the victim in the people section of the court record, then press Y to present. That would be this man. The victim's name was Dr. John H. Wilson. Well, at least you can remember the name of an esteemed member of your university. Dr. Wilson was a visiting professor from England, invited to UMA University 3 years ago. Indeed, which is the reason why this case has such profound implications. The British Empire is at present our country's most valuable foreign ally. As most of you will be aware, we have just signed a new treaty together after lengthy negotiations. There can't be anyone who hasn't heard of the Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation. And yet, despite these delicate circumstances, the blood of an Englishman has been spilt on our soil. You two are both undergraduates at the Imperial Yuma University, are you not? Murray, a professor from the very institution that provides your education. Have you no honor? But I didn't do it. This case is coming under great scrutiny from our allies of the other side of the world. The court therefore wishes for a speedy resolution of this matter. In other words, our feeble government is scared of upsetting England's policymakers. And you're a convenient, expendable scapegoat to blame for this crime. So that's why this trial has unusual peculiarities, is it? Exactly. Our government needs to convict someone as quickly as possible. All because the victim was an Englishman. Yes, Dr. Wilson was an Englishman. But nationalities and treaties won't make any difference for me here. The fact is, I was there at the scene of the crime. Oh dear, look at the time. Better be going. I'm enjoying more chocolate while we've read all this before. The British Empire. Wow, it's incredible to think. Wait. I've seen that man at university. I'm sure he's visiting professor from Great Britain. I don't know his name, but still, I should go and say hello. So I went over to the professor's table and introduced myself to Dr. Wilson. Now then, let me pose my next question to you, Defendant Naruhodo. Yes, Your Excellency. How did this professor of medicine, Dr. H. Wilson, lose his life? I believe he was shot. State before the court the cause of death. The cause of death? Well, obviously that was, Ryu, remember in the court, every assertion must be backed up by evidence. By evidence? But how? Find the piece of evidence that shows the professor's cause of death and select present. Do it now. That would be the post-mortem report. Well, according to this document, I love that animation of him going through the documents. That's great. The victim suffered an hemorrhagic death due to gunshot trauma. Good to read, you imbecile. That's the postmortem report, I take it. Sorry, yes, that's right. That, postmortem report. In the West, a doctor dissects corpses to identify the cause of death in an autopsy. But here in Japan, a police officer merely inspects the body and draws conclusions that way. Oh, I see. As long as I'm not going to be testing any of this later. This is a so-called photographic print of the scene of the crime. You can clearly discern scorch marks from the bullet hole produced by the powder explosion. In other words, we should assume that the victim was shot at close range. He was shot on his, accepted into, to the court record. Yeah. Hey, can I go look at that? So it's a photographic print. Well, that's something I've never seen before. Hey, yeah, can I go look at that? He was shot on the right side of his chest. Well, that's cool. I like that. But no, he was shot on the right side of his chest. I'm sure that will be important much later. The bullet did not pass through the victim's body. That's going to be important for later. It's clearly superior to a drawing. The detail is incredible. Very well. I'm satisfied with your answers. Let us start the trial. Certainly, Your Excellency. So, without further ado, in order to better appraise the court with the facts of the case, the prosecution hereby calls its first witness, who was there at the scene of the crime when it happened. Oh, this is it then. I think I may have worked out what the professor had in mind. The professor? You mean Dr. Mikotoba? Yes, clearly you're the defense lawyer today, not me. But that doesn't mean... Well, I can still act as your assistant. Ah, of course! When he was speaking with me before, he simply said Kazuma Asagi must not be the defense lawyer in this trial. He really has been sticking his oar in, hasn't he? Maybe, but any help you can give me would be greatly appreciated, Kazuma. Well, my first piece of advice is rein in that crazy look of bewilderment and control the cold sweats. Only if you rein in that crazy headband and control the cold stares. I love this. Oh, hello. Witness, state your name and occupation for the court, please. Of course, my name is Satoru Hasunaga. Man, I miss localized Ace Attorney names where it was just wacky and I could easily remember it. These are puns that are going well over my head. I am the head waiter of the Western-style restaurant called Le Carnival. Ahem, ahem. Are you alright? You seem to be coughing up some, Not suspicious at all. It's a regular occurrence, it really doesn't bother me. Well, it really should. As everyone knows, the capital southeastern quarter was developed for foreign visitors some years ago. It's become a very fashionable district now, full of hotels and to accommodate overseas guests. This grim crime occurred in one of the district's so-called restaurants. An Occidental eatery 3 days ago. Understood. Hasunaga-san, you will kindly tell the court everything you can about the incident. At once, sir. And no petty interjections from the aspiring lawyer boy, please. Oh, perspiring maybe, but aspiring? It was just after 2 p.m. on the day in question. We have a few dinners at that time of day. The lunchtime rush was over, and there were only 3 tables still occupied. That fits with my memory of it, too. There was hardly anyone else in the place. It was when I was in the kitchen, putting away crockery and cutlery. A gunshot rang out, so I hurried out into the dining area to see what had happened. And found the victim, an English gentleman, slumped in his chair. And standing immediately beside him, gun in hand, was the accused university student. Hold on! Let me just clarify something here! Well, I did pick up the gun that I found laying on the floor beside the professor. I didn't shoot him! I believe I asked you to refrain from petty interjections. The court wishes to listen to the witness's report of what he saw, you amateur. But the next time you interrupt at an inappropriate time, you will be penalized, defendant Naruhodo. Don't worry, Ryu. You'll have your chance to fight back. For now, we must quietly listen to the witness. If I may confirm one point, waiter, standing beside the victim with a gun in his hand was the same man we see here in the court today? Yes, without question. I see. And apart from the accused, was there anyone else standing beside the victim? No. There was no one else around the table but the deceased Englishman and the university student. Huh? Wait, what did he just say? There was no one else around that table? What's the matter, Ryu? That's just not right. When I went over to Dr. Wilson to say hello, there was a woman sitting opposite him at the table. Really? And that's not something the waiter could have missed. I've been warned about interjecting, but still, what should I do? Wait and see. I desperately want to say something, but I was told not to interject. Ryu, if your parents tell you to study, you're the kind of man who would diligently get to work, aren't you? I suppose I am. You never gotten to Yuma University otherwise. But you can't just always follow the rules in life, you know? If you don't say what you want to say right now, you'll seriously regret it when you're found guilty. Alright, you scared me. I won't forget that piece of advice in a hurry. And there is something I want to say. It's just going to I'm just going to shut my eyes and say it. Just a moment, please. Dr. Wilson wasn't alone that day. I'm sure of it. There was a lady sitting with him at the same table. Dear me, what are we going to do with you? With your blatant disregard for court proceedings, I'm beginning to wonder if you're not a fraud. Could it be that the accused, this mere student, is not a real lawyer after all? But I am sure of what I saw. Hosonaga-san, is there any chance you're mistaken? Perhaps your memory of events is hazy? No. The deceased gentleman came to dine alone. I don't believe it! I actually have a rough plan of the restaurant as it was that day. Please, have a look if you'd like to. Let me see. Ah, a sketch of the establishment's layout drawn by yourself, I presume. That's right. I'm afraid I used the back of my business card. It was a turbulent situation. I want to flip that bitch over immediately. However, as you can see, the gentleman in question was seated alone. Well, you're clearly a very conscientious waiter. Big words for your boy, Raptor. Yeah, just the full like Elmo meme. That's a big word for Elmo. Thank you, sir. The court will take this plan and add it to the court record as evidence. Oh, well... Is there a problem? Hand the plan to the court officer at once. Of course. Here you are. What was that about? He's been completely calm and collected until now. Something certainly seems to have shaken him. So... The court has now heard the précis of the case. Yes, the moment the gunshot was heard from the restaurant, the only person in close proximity to the victim was the defendant on trial today. It would seem we are looking at a black and white case here. Defendant Naruhodo. Yes, Your Excellency. If you admit your guilt at this stage, the court is willing to look mercifully upon you. In other words, you may have some small reprieve in terms of your inevitable punishment. I called this waiter as an unsworn witness in order to explain the details of the court, in this case, the court. But I must warn the defense, if you are determined to pursue matters further in this trial, the prosecution has decisive evidence for sworn witnesses who were present at the scene of the crime. What do you think I should do, Kazuma? What do you mean? Goddamn cat, Jesus. Well, I'm going to be found guilty one way or another, it seems. Wouldn't it be sensible to just plead guilty at this stage and hope for a more lenient sentence? Everyone keeps telling me that this trial is unusual, about these peculiarities. You said it, Professor Mikotoba said it, and so is the judge and the prosecution. I'm scared of what lies ahead if I push this. As I said from the outset, I believe you're innocent. I trust you. And yet, despite knowing that, you're willing now to throw that trust back in my face? Is that it? What? If the accused is in fact innocent, then as a defense lawyer the defense lawyer is duty-bound to prove that innocence by whatever means necessary. Are you just going to abandon that duty? Are you going to give up on yourself? The battle hasn't even begun yet, Ryu. The defense pleads not guilty, Your Excellence. We invite the prosecution to stop making empty threats and bring out its witness. Then we'll see just how decisive this evidence really is. Indeed. Prosecutor, I haven't had to read this yet. Ouchie. I just realized ouchie. Prosecutor, ouchie. Pain, ouchie. I love it. Please continue with proceedings. Tisk. Well, you were warned. The young can be so reckless. You know, many call me a saint, but I can be a devil when I want to be. In a few short moments from now, the dumbstruck young mouth of yours will be silenced forever. The prosecution calls its next witness. Very well, officer. Bring forth the witness at once. Oh, hello. Witnesses, kindly state your names and occupations for the court. I want to examine this shit. There's writing on it, and I want to flip this bitch over. Yes, sir. The Great Nippon Imperial Army Sergeant Iese Nosa, reporting for duty, sir. Myself, I find employ of a purveyor of fine articles of antiquity from the effervescence of our nation, Nippon, and conduct my trade from Rasutai, a humble premises in the 2nd District, Rio, Korikuta, at your service. An antique dealer and a soldier? What an unusual pairing! Both of these gentlemen were present at the restaurant the day in question. They must be the diners at the other table that the waiter mentioned. Myself, I habitually take the tea of the most exquisite aroma at the establishment in question, always past noon. And not infrequently converse with my interested parties regarding the curios in which I make my business. I can't understand a word that old man is saying. He's an antique dealer, and it sounds like he's a regular Le Carnival. He seeks out potential customers who may have an interest in antiques and tries to sell his wares to them. He obviously targets Le Carnival because it's a high-class restaurant, with rich clientele. Right, I see. Although, to be honest, that sergeant looks more like he'd be a seller rather than a buyer. Now, well, you both witnessed the precise moment of this most atrocious incident. Is that correct? Affirmative. The enemy unit was seen attacking the foreigner in what can only be described as an act of war, sir. It was that black uniformed rogue infantryman over there who unloaded his firearms, sir. This man is as impossible to understand as the other. But I'm almost sure I heard a strange noise during that last thing he said. So, this is decisive evidence the prosecution was threatening. The soldier is claiming that he actually saw the precise moment you shot the victim dead. Yes. Well, are you starting to feel uncomfortable? If I'm honest, I was feeling uncomfortable from the start. Now, the court will hear your formal testimony. Please, you will state everything you saw at the precise moment that the incident occurred. Sir, yes, sir! Standing by ready to report, sir. He has a baby on his back. Unsavory memories are most, accurate afternoon. They're doing this shit on purpose now. I was investigating the regulation beefsteak at the restaurant while having a technical conversation with the old man. Myself, I was extolling the virtues of a particularly fine golden curio from the military gentleman. At a precise moment, a firearm was discharged. I observed the enemy's actions with my own eyes. The black uniformed varsity cadet fired on the English civilian, and from the back, the cowardly little weasel. I was on my hands and knees investigating whereabouts from my mysteriously absconded precious curio. So he lost something. Well, so you, Sergeant Nose, actually witnessed the vital moment. You saw the split second when the defendant fired the weapon at the victim? Yes, sir. Affirmative, sir. That wicked university cadet, sir. That cruel, unforgivable enemy. What times we live in, when an English gentleman may be assailed in broad light of day. He's packing. But this is ridiculous. I didn't shoot anyone. Is that really true, Ryu? Yes, all I did was pick up the gun I saw lying on the floor. After I said hello to Dr. Wilson, I went back to my table and sat drinking some coffee. Then, when I'd finished, I got up from my seat to leave the restaurant, when I noticed an English-made gun next to the chair where the professor was sitting. I thought perhaps the professor had dropped it, so I bent down, and just as I was picking it up... Well, if that's the truth, then there was obviously a criminal on the scene somewhere. And somewhere these two witnesses' testimonies, there's a clue as to who that criminal was. There is? Oh, I already found it, baby. Ryu, you must exercise your right to cross-examine the witness. Cross-examine? Do it now! As we have heard, Your Excellency, there is no room for doubt in the testimony of these witnesses. The defense is clearly guilty. It's time to bring this despicable student to justice. Certainly, the testimony the court has just heard eliminates any vestige of doubt. Therefore, it is my grave duty to declare the verdict of this trial. What in the name of the Emperor is the meaning of this outburst? I mean, the defense demands its right to cross-examination. Dear me, dear me. Let me guess. The Hachimaki headband boy next door told me to do it. How pathetic. Huh? How did he know? The prosecution objects. This is a clear waste of time. The defendant obviously has no experience. How could he possibly carry out a cross-examination? The defense is asserting its right to a cross-examination. Whether or not you think he's capable of it is irrelevant. Go. Cosmo is so commanding. Very well. Let the defense conduct a cross-examination of the witness. Alright, this is where the battle really begins, Ryu. But I don't even know what I have to do in a cross-examination. Isn't it obvious? You have to expose the lies in the witness's statements. How? You didn't fire the gun, which means what the soldier said has to be a lie. Well, yes, but it's just a case of proving it, and the key to doing that is the evidence. Right, evidence. All you need to do is present some decisive and indisputable evidence that proves the witness is lying. Now let's go, Ryu. Don't let them beat you. Alright then! It's all or nothing. I love this. This is what I wanted out of Apollo Justice. Investigating irregulation, blah 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 blah. Press! Why aren't you saying anything? Is there some new interrogation technique? I hadn't actually thought of what I wanted to ask. Just ask about anything that catches your attention. Anything that bothers you. Alright then, this beef steak you mentioned. What kind of food is that? Beef steak is delicious cut of veal, rigorously cooked on a cast iron grill and served piping hot. Oh. If food could receive medals of honor, beef steak would be almost as highly decorated as a cutlet. Right, I see. Thank you, sir. So, next question. This cutlet you mentioned, what kind of food is that? Cutlet is a delicious crust of veal, tossed in breadcrumbs and deep fried in cooking oil. Accept your guilty verdict, atone for your crimes, and when you're released from prison, try it! Yes, sir, I will, sir! On the double, sir! Sorry to interrupt, but how about trying to stick to questions that are relevant to the case? Oops, sorry. I'll do my best. So next question. Is it just me, or do you keep hearing a sort of wah crying noise? Negative. Well, at least we've learned that he's a big beef lover. Affirmative. It's not easy knowing what questions to ask. Ooh, I got an achievement. Alright. I have no idea what you're talking about. A Koban boy. A Koban? You mean an old Edo coin? The day prior to the incident, a treasure of exceptional value from the Hoi period entered my possession. I took myself to the restaurant the following day with said item secreted in my bosom pocket, in the hope of affluent cognizance appraised for its indisputable value being present. So, you were hoping to sell your Koban coin to Sergeant Osa, whom you met at the restaurant? Yes, it's quite clear where you're going with this, boy. You were about to assert that the pitiless soldier would have no hope of purchasing a precious Koban. Isn't that so? Well... You little upstart cadet! You want to add disrespect to your superior officer to your list of crimes, do you? Blatant subordination. No, I didn't say anything. Although penniless might be just the word I was looking for. In any case, the hour was already advanced beyond that of the midday luncheon. There remained precious few present with whom I could engage in discourse about matters of business. The gentleman aside me, who was grappling with his braised veal at the time, was my sole prospect. I see. Firearm was discharged. Observe the enemy's actions with my own eyes. So, you're saying that you actually saw me at that time? Affirmative, I saw you, laughing, cackling like a madman as you trained your barrel your gun on the English civilian. But that's impossible. I only... Allow me to confirm just one point, please. What's that, Private? Thinking carefully about the statement you just made, it seems to me that it must have been just after you heard the gunshot that you looked over at the victim's table. And so what if it was? Well, if that really is the case, it would mean that you didn't in fact see the precise moment when the killer actually fired the gun. Arg! A double arg! My sixth sense. Sorry? My sixth sense of danger! I picked up on the waves of murderous energy radiating from your foul mind. Which means, a split second before you pulled the trigger, I was looking right at you, cadet. Surely that's not really possible, is it? Do you think I'd have got where I am today in the army if I couldn't sense danger in the air, son? Well, it would seem the soldier is absolutely convinced that he saw you do the deed. This is not good. The black uniformed varsity student cadet fired on the English civilian from the back, the cowardly little weasel. Oops.
Yes.
So this black uniform university cadet, you're saying that was... Arrgh! I've had just about enough of your sauce, cadet. Who else do you see around here in a black uniform, hmm? Well, there's someone standing right next to me who fits that description as well, but... It was you, you little weasel. You unloaded that firearm on that man from behind his back. You call yourself a citizen of the great empire of Nippon? You disgust me. What is it for you? I'm not quite sure. It's something that the sergeant just said, but I can't put my finger on it. Something's playing on my mind. In that case, check back over the details of the evidence you've gathered on the court record. And if you find an inconsistency there with what the witness just said, then don't hold back. Ooh, sorry. Present the evidence to the court. Thrust in the witness's face and make him choke on it. I want to hear this, though. Oops. Ugh, not what I'm supposed to do here. Listen, Ryu. We know there are lies lurking in these statements. It's time to expose them. I understand that. The question is how? Like I said before, the key to this is using evidence that you've collected. You can examine the present evidence witness by giving testimony pressing the right button. Tutorial. We know how the game works now. On your hands and knees. Could you explain that, please? That's right! Spending the arthritis I was in order to retrieve a lost piece. What lost piece are you referring to? The Koban, of course! The exquisite Hoi-era Koban coin! I had just been showing the rare treasure to the military man as he masticated his meal. After averting my eyes for a brief moment, there was no more. It simply vanished. The Koban vanished? Hence, I began to acquaint myself with the intricacies of the floor in order to locate it. And then it happened. You heard the gunshot, you mean? None other than, though it was no concern of mine. I was frantically scouring the floor for the aforementioned lost treasure. So, in fact, you didn't actually witness the precise moment when the incident occurred. Indeed, myself, I did not. And we will rub up below. Let's get back in. I think I got it. Again, from the back, but we have, I think it's the autopsy report. I'm sure either the autopsy or the picture will work. Oh, shit, did not mean to press. That's okay. Thank God for the fast forward button. So let's see here. Gunshot to the chest. So yeah, I think either would work. We'll just go with this.
Yes.
What? What are you playing at, cadet? What's the meaning of this subordination? Thrusting this wad of papers in my mustache. Inconsistency, sir. I mean, yes. There's a clear inconsistency here. Tisk, what nonsense! What can this document possibly tell us we don't already know? Well, obviously, that, I know what I want to say, but the words just won't come out of my mouth. I think this proves beyond any doubt, Your Excellency, that there is no place for an amateur student here in the Grand Courtroom. This is so frustrating. Oh, please. Surely this doesn't require an explanation. It couldn't be more plain. To spell it out in words would be an insult to the court. Kazuma, what? What are you talking about? It's apparent from a single glance at the post-mortem report presented by the defense that there is a clear discrepancy here with the sergeant's statement. What? Sergeant A.S.A. Nosa. Yes, sir. What, sir? The statement you just made was this. The black uniformed varsity cadet fired on the English civilian, and from the back, the cowardly little weasel. Yes, sir. Affirmative, sir. I witnessed the crime with my own military-grade eyes, sir. But no, that just can't be. And why not, cadet? Because... As it's clearly stated in the post-mortem report, fatal hemorrhage for a pectoral ballistic trauma, no exit wound, bullet did not pass through the body. The photographic print of the victim clearly shows the same thing. The victim, Dr. Wilson, died from a bullet wound to the chest. Sergeant, according to your witness statement, the culprit shot the victim from behind. And that is the obvious discrepancy here. Well, how do you explain it? What was that? Something just popped up from behind his back when he pushed it down again. Certainly, there was a clear discrepancy with the facts here. Would you not agree, Sergeant Nosa? Yes, sir. At this juncture, that would appear to be indisputable. Until the moment I heard the firearm discharge, my eyes were firmly fixed on the delicious Le Carnival steak, sir. What? The last testimony the court heard has proven one thing beyond all reasonable doubt. The witness, Sergeant Iesa Nosa, did not see the defendant firing the gun at all. That's absurd! I think the conclusion we must draw is simple. There is no place for an amateur prosecutor here in this grand courtroom. Fucking got him. There's been a complete turnabout in the mood of this trial, just from that one discrepancy. So this is what being an ace attorney is all about. Roll credits. But I definitely saw him. That university kid there, he was pointing the firearm directly at the victim's back. But I never fired the gun. All I did was pick it up off the floor. And you, old man, you didn't see the moment the victim was shot either? Myself, I have already been quite clear. The gunshot interested me not. I was far too busy on the floor. Oh yes, you were looking for your Koban coin, weren't you? Indeed, the prized Hoy-era Koban! Hunting around under the table I was, in case mayhap it had fallen there. And then it happened. You heard the gunshot, you mean? Indeed I did, but I heeded it not, for I was concerned only with finding my absconded Hoy treasure. Nothing could distract me. Out of interest, did you find the coin in the end? No. I see. That lamentable day, the precious Hoy Koban was lost to me. No doubt some unscrupulous scoundrel pocketed the prize coin for himself. As I'm sure everyone present is aware, this case demands a swift and decisive resolution. Our government has promised to send a full report to Great Britain by telegraph this very afternoon. Nevertheless, the witness's testimony to the court has just heard was inconclusive. No matter how subservient our government feels it must be to the British. It would be unforgivable to deliver a verdict on this trial right now. What is your position, Prosecutor Ouchie? Worry not, Your Excellency. The defendant may have fled the trigger at the front gate, but he will find a wolf in the back. My witnesses have further testimony to make. Explain. Upon hearing the next statements, it will become abundantly clear that there is only one person who could have possibly committed this despicable crime. The equally despicable defendant, Ryo Naruhodo. What? He really seems to have a despicable opinion of you, doesn't he? Very well. The court invites the witnesses to testify again. You will thoroughly explain the reasoning behind the prosecution's allegations. Is that clear? As clear as Kiriko glass, Your Excellency. Yes, sir. At once, sir. Away signal to testify, sir. Excuse me, but there's something or someone peeking out over your shoulder, I think. Affirmative. The newest member of the Nosa family to rise up to the ranks, sir. Named Ido. It would seem that those straps are a sign of the sergeant being too strapped to afford a nanny. Ido, tension! Your father is about to quell the enemy. Watch and learn, my boy. Even if what I saw was the precise moment the firearm was discharged, it was almost the same thing. Yes, pointing his gun at the foreign man he was, the young lad in black. That much I myself did see. Furthermore, a visual search of the premises at the time confirmed that there were the only personnel present. Indeed, alone he was, the Englishman, dining all by himself. Therefore, no one other than the black-formed uniformed cadet could have dispatched the Englishman. Over and out. These testimonies are certainly compelling. Wait, that's nonsense! The victim, Dr. Wilson, wasn't alone at all! Please, enough of these outbursts already. But there was a woman! There was a young woman at this table! You must have seen her! Everyone there must have seen her! If you call yourself a lawyer, then you will respect the rules of the court and speak accordingly. We are not here to listen to your fantasies. Ugh. It is evident beyond all reasonable doubt that the victim was alone at the time of the incident. The prosecution has a photograph of this fact. Is this a photograph print of the scene of the crime, counsel? Indeed, of the table which the victim was dining, taken by an investigator immediately after the incident. As it can be plainly seen, there is only one place set. Certainly, based on the appearance of this print. It would be reasonable to conclude that the victim was not in the company of anyone else. That doesn't make any sense. The court will add this new photographic evidence in the record. I don't understand. What's going on here? It's just not possible that nobody else saw the woman. The waiter before said the same thing. He maintains that Dr. Wilson came to the restaurant alone as well. But that's not true. I saw her. I swear that I saw a woman with him. It would seem that we'll be able to telegraph the report to Great Britain on time after all. The witnesses' testimonies we've just heard leave no further room for doubt. These are very sensitive political times, as we all know. The ink is still fresh on the treaty with Great Britain. To think that Takesuchi Ouchi, will have contributed to the amity of these two great empires is an honor. How can this be happening? The judge is ready to rule. Stand tall, Ryu. It's not over yet. What? If what you say is true, then there's something going on here behind the scenes. And now is your chance to expose it, to draw out the truth in your cross-examination. I don't know, Kazuma. The defense is entitled to a cross-examination of the witness, but make it quick, understood? Rules can be so unbending at times. Alright.
Yes!
No, it's not this I did at all. For a start, I didn't fire that gun. We have a difference of opinion on that. The opinion of an unformed officer versus that of a fledgling cadet. I don't think so. Consider this, defendant. Just a moment ago, I blinked. Did you? Did you see it? Did you see me blink? How could I? And yet, it is an undeniable fact that I did blink. So there you have it. Have what? Tension! The sound of the firearm rang in my ears. At the very next moment, I saw you waving the gun at the Englishman. I think that says it all, don't you? And let's not forget the antiquities dealer witnessed the accused in the moment of incriminating position as well. Is that so, Kurakuta-san? Yes, pointing his gun at the phone man. He was a young lad in black. Yes, it may be true that I was holding the gun at that point in time, but I've told you already, that's only because I picked it up off the floor. Well, obviously, as the culprit, that's the only way you could explain it away. I had just finished drinking my coffee and I was about to leave the restaurant when I noticed a gun on the floor at Dr. Wilson's feet, so I picked it up, and at that exact moment, a gunshot rang in my ears. Full of events beyond our control, I feel. Sorry, what do you mean? In your case, you found a pistol on the floor and picked it up, which precipitated this testing predicament. Whereas conversely, I failed to pick up the cobalt from the floor and find myself in an equally testing predicament as a result. Anyway, the fact remains. Myself, I did see you, with a pistol in hand, standing over the foreigner. Furthermore, blah, 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 blah.
Yes!
Let's see here, You must have noticed something else at Dr. Wilson's table. There was a lady there. As you have been at pains to point out time and time again, I feel I'm growing my callus in my ear. And yet no one else appears to have caught even a glimpse of this woman. Ugh. If only there had been more people in the dining there at that time, then someone else would have noticed her. Unfortunately, it was already past 2 p.m. when that happened. The quiet time between lunch and dinner in any restaurant. I know, of course the place was almost empty. It's what you'd expect. Certainly, 2 p.m. is neither here nor there in terms of a time to eat. I beg to disagree. I wonder if there was a reason why the victim was eating at that time of day, and why he was alone. Yes, Your Excellency, there was indeed a reason. There was? This was found in the victim's jacket pocket. What is that, Counsel? It's a medical report card, Your Excellency. It would seem that the victim had an appointment at a clinic prior to visiting the restaurant. Hotta clinic. I get it. Yes, there would indeed appear to be an entry for the date in question. 19th November, noon to past 1 p.m. The very day of the incident. So the victim went for a late lunch following his appointment. That explanation couldn't be more simple. The prosecution felt no need to submit this evidence before, as it really has no bearing on the case. I wonder, what do you think, Ryu? Well, it is hard to see how it could be related, really. Remember, you can request for it to be entered into the court record as evidence if you think it could be useful. Should I? Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
If I may, I'd like to ask for that medical report card to be submitted as evidence, Your Excellency. On what grounds? The court has already heard the conclusive witness testimony. Additional evidence would be extraneous. Not to mention that the victim's movements prior to his arrival at the restaurant are of no concern. Whether or not they are of concern is up to us to decide. We have the right to explore all possible avenues. I beg your pardon? You have no authority to refuse a perfectly valid request for the submission of evidence. Very well, the court will grant the defense's request. Youngsters these days are forever asserting their rights. It's the most disturbing trend. Officer, kindly add the victim's medical report card to the court record. I want to read it. I want to read it. What we need right now is no clues. It doesn't say. Medical report card from Hata Clinic that was found in the victim's pocket. It doesn't show that he had a pocket on his jacket where he would have been shot. I do. No, maybe a discrepancy. I think a discrepancy with the plates of food. We'll have to see. This guy is 38. Jesus. Alright. We have to explore things from every possible angle, even if they don't seem relevant at first. Right, I hear ya. You can conspire to prolong this trial as much as you like, but it's the day after the festival already for you. Or perhaps you'd forgotten that these witnesses' testimonies leave no room for doubt. Feel free to reiterate it for the accused, Korakuta-san. Alone he was, the Englishman, dining all by himself. Kinda makes it seem like that's the spot, but I definitely want to explore you. No one other than the black foreman could have dispatched the Englishman.
Yes.
Why aren't you telling the truth? What did you say, cadet? I don't know why my voice just changed there. I clearly remember. There was a woman sitting across the table from the professor. Perhaps one of you might not have noticed, but for both of you to have failed to see the professor's dining companion, it's just not possible. Unfortunately for you, Defendant Naruhodo, it's not just a case of these two witnesses alone. Sorry? The waiter, whose testimony the court heard earlier, clearly stated the same thing. He also said the victim was alone. That's right. Precisely. In other words, you are the sole proponent of this phantom lady. But if such a woman were indeed present at the scene, the prosecution demands to see proof. And if no such proof exists, the prosecution demands that no further mention of this phantom woman be made. It is a blatant waste of the court's time. There's nothing I can say that... Excellent work, Ryu. We've gleaned some new information now. Well, yes, but I don't feel like it changes much. I can't see it brings any real discrepancies to light. I wouldn't be so sure. Let me see that medical report card you got before. Oh, you mean this? Yes, this is a brand new piece of evidence. So perhaps we should examine it in a little more detail. How exactly? Oh, a tutorial, no wonder. You'll notice that some pieces of evidence bear a magnifying glass. These are ones you may examine. Press A, you can take a closer look at the piece of tutorial. They do have the 3D stuff. That's cool. I want to rotate. I want to rotate everything. Left stick to select things, right stick to rotate, if I'm not mistaken. Blah, 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 blah. Press A to investigate further. Ah, gotcha. So, partner, I think you should take a closer look at this medical report card. You got it, bro. I want to take a look at everything. Doesn't want me to investigate everything, even though I want to. It's not letting me. See if there's anything to learn about it more detail. Alright, I'll see what I can do. I need to use blah 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 blah. Alright. Oh, now it lets me. Gotcha. Flip it over immediately. Let's have a look. This is some kind of medical history. Ah, and there's an entry for the day the professor was killed. Extraction of molar with topical anesthesia. Extraction of molar? You mean he had a tooth taken out? It would seem so. Just before the incident, he had a bad tooth removed. Perhaps they used laughing gas. That's the most modern practice in the West for pain relief. Yes, I've heard of this anesthesia. Though it's just hard to believe there's anything that can actually stop you feeling pain. Ah, there's a cautionary note from medical practitioner as well. Strictly no food or drink besides water for 3 hours post-procedure until anesthetic effects have passed. Really? Sounds like information worth bearing in mind. Good to know. With this new information, the meaning of that one particular statement totally changes. So I think it's time we listen to the testimony again, don't you? Alright. Should be this one.
Yes.
Well, I think, what are you wondering, Blad? Have you got yourself a lawyer? I flubbed that, but you know what? Works better if that was that. I wish I could, but the first and foremost here, I'm the accused. Ryu, everyone stumbles on their words occasionally. Under the circumstances, I wouldn't worry about it. Thanks, Kazuma. I could see it quite clearly in that cross-examination you just carried out. When you raised your hand straight up like that, so purposefully, you know exactly what it was you wanted to say. Don't feel like you have to choose your words carefully. Just say what you're thinking. Alright. And thanks for the advice. Korakuda-san, this is a medical report card belonging to the victim. Ah, I see, and I don't see. A lot of it, boy. Comparing what is written on this report card with your witness statement. Something clearly doesn't add up. Dear me, have you forgotten my words so soon, you amateur? Sorry, what? You are not to interrupt court proceedings with your amateurish drivel. But let's see if I can explain in words you might understand. It was after 2 p.m. in the afternoon when the victim was murdered at the restaurant. Whatever he may or may not have done before that time is completely irrelevant. But that's, Remember, Ryu, you don't have to use clever language or fancy words. Just make your point. Your Excellency, I believe we're finished here. There is surely no need to prolong this trial further. The witness testimonies the court has heard have been clear and concise. The medical report card has no bearing on the matter at all, for the simple reason that there is no one else besides the pale-faced pupil who could have possibly perpetrated the crime. This medical report card has nothing to do with the case? Do you really believe that? That outburst half petrified me, boy! Of course I believe it! How could it possibly be relevant? Perhaps because Hata Clinic, which issued the report card, is a dental clinic. A dental clinic? Is it supposed to mean something to me? Perhaps if I told you that the victim had just had a tooth extracted? What's this now? And furthermore, if I told you that as a result, the victim had been forbidden from eating... Just Just what are you trying to say, cadet? He had orders not to eat, so what? It's all written up in here. No food or drink other than water for 3 hours post-procedure while anesthesia wears off. What? No, that can't... Korakuta-san. What, boy, what? As you just heard, when he was killed, sometime shortly after 2 p.m., the victim couldn't have been eating anything at all. No. Additionally, there's more? You have assured the court that with unwavering self-confidence that the victim was dining alone. But that cannot possibly be the case. Because the victim, as we now know, had just had one of his teeth extracted and was still experiencing the effects of anesthetic. Expertly done, partner.
Attention!
What is this nonsense, you little upstart? These are baseless accusations. Just look at this photographic evidence. They switched seats. That's cool. You can clearly see the plate of food at the victim's table. Use your head. That's the very discrepancy we're talking about. Or can't you follow the logic? How dare you? I think it's fair to say that the tables in the restaurant case have been turned. Wouldn't you agree, Ryu? Yes, most definitely. So having just undergone some dental surgery, the victim was unable to eat. Which leaves us one very crucial conundrum. Who, in fact, was eating the pictured beefsteak? The court will hear the opinion of the defense on this new puzzle. I assume you're ready, counsel? Counsel? Oh, that means me, doesn't it? Alright, the answer to this question is going to be pivotal. This is the start of your turning this trial around. Show them what you're made of. Got it. So, the person eating the steak at the victim's table must have been the victim himself. Me! The two witnesses as an as yet unknown third party. Obviously, it could only have been someone else who was sitting at the professor's table. You will not let this go, will you? There was no such person. There was, because I saw her. When the incident occurred, we know that the victim couldn't have been eating anything, yet we have evidence of a half-eaten steak on his table. Therefore, the only logical conclusion is that there was someone else there eating it. We have strong evidence to support our assertion. It's clear that the witness testimonies are unreliable. If the court decides to push through a ruling at this stage, we will lodge a formal complaint with the Ministry of Justice and pursue a fair retrial relentlessly. Kazuma? Are you insane? You would take on the government? Don't worry, counsel. I have no issue with you. What do you mean? I have issue with them, those two witnesses in the stand. What? What are you talking about? We have demonstrated with evidence that the victim was not alone. So, if it now turns out that the two of you deliberately lied when giving your testimonies, obviously you will be charged with perjury. Perjury? And since this is a murder trial, you will also be deemed complicit in the killing. Complicit in murder? No! This is fun. I love Ace Attorney. This is great. Negative! There was no mention of this at the tactical meeting. I was just following orders. That's right, as the man says. Just say you never saw the gentlewoman. That's what they told us. Oh. What? What did you just say, Korakuta-san? Oh, no! You were just following orders? Now hold on, lad, I was, Say you never saw the gentlewoman. When you say gentlewoman, do you mean you saw the victim with a lady from overseas? What?
Objection!
What does the meaning of all this? These witnesses gave false statements? Is this true, you pair? Just one simple slip of the tongue. Order! Counsel, explain what's going on here. It's painfully clear now. You tried to prevent these witnesses from telling the truth. Absolutely not. The prosecution knows nothing of this. Then who's behind this? Who tried to make you keep your mouth shut? Well, that's classified. So you're prepared to be tried as conspirator to this murder, are you? You wouldn't. This can't be happening. Ryu, judging from the way they're reacting to this, I'd say they were sworn to silence by someone with considerable influence. However, I don't believe Ouchie had any idea about it. What are you saying? I mean, to wield that kind of influence, there are only a handful of possibilities. It could only have been the government, the military, or the police, I suppose? Well, any ideas about who might be behind this? If we can affirm who tried to silence these witnesses, then we can continue our pursuit. So we need to name whoever it was that tried to make the witnesses keep their mouths shut. Of course, we'll need evidence before we make any firm accusations. Evidence that proves whoever it was really did wield his or her power here. But how? How can we possibly... Remember how we made progress before? Before, we examined this piece of evidence in more detail and found a new clue as a result. Oh, yes, that's right. Well, that's not the only piece of evidence we have, is it? We need to re-examine everything to make sure there's nothing we've missed. There's no time to lose. I want answers. Alright, give me this fracking business card. This plan of the restaurant raises a number of questions, I think. Definitely. It's supposed to show the relative position of everything in the moments following the incident, but there's nothing to show the woman you say you saw there. Exactly! And that's not all! Look here in the upper left, where it says kitchen. Oh yes, what of it? No one would use those complicated characters to write kitchen, especially not if they were in a hurry. You mean you don't remember those characters yourself, don't you? Study harder, Ryu. Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. Yeah, boy. Well, that's unexpected. What is? Look, do you see it says the witness's name here? Satoru Hosonaga. Well, yes, business cards do tend to show the person's name. That's sort of the point. It's not the name on it that's unexpected. It's his job title. His job? Oh! Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. Inspector? What on earth? I have no idea. But let's face it, the police have a lot of power and influence. If they're wielding it somehow here... Yeah, boy. Let's do this. If it's proven that the witnesses have been manipulated, I assure you the penalty will be served. Please, wait, Your Excellency! I had no idea about any of this. I swear to every Shinto god. I knew nothing! And what does the defense have to say about all this, well, Your Excellency. No time to think. I'm just going to have to close my eyes and shout out the first thing that comes to my head. Besides the prosecution, the only person with the necessary influence to manipulate the witnesses is...
Yes!
Well, surely that would be... Satoru Hosonaga-san. Hosonaga-san? The waiter who took the stand earlier? Poppycock! What possible reason would the waiter have to make those witnesses give false testimony? Not to mention the fact that even a head waiter could not possibly have the level of influence. For once, I would agree with you. If, that is, the man truly were a waiter. What if he truly were? Come on, Ryu. Time to hit this court with the truth. The truth about Satoru Hosanaga's real identity as proven by this evidence.
Yes!
I love this. This is great. The plan of the restaurant sketched by the man in question. I agree it shows a great deal of attention to detail, but I'm not sure we can conclude anything. Sorry, Your Excellency, that's the back of the card. It's the back of the back of the card that's of interest. I beg your pardon? Or perhaps I should have said the front? Yes, it's the front of the back of the card. That's where the telly detail is. Would somebody please explain what this overexcited student is trying to say? Hosonaga-san sketched this plan of the restaurant on the reverse side of his business card. The front of that business card reveals the man in question's profession, his true profession. The waiter's profession? That's surely... Good gracious! That's right, Your Excellency. The card reads, Chief Inspector, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. What? The waiter is a police detective? I haven't heard any mention of this before! Why haven't I heard any mention of this before? The Imperial Police Bureau has immense power, absolute power as far as our regular civilians are concerned. So, witnesses there in the stand... Was it in fact the waiter who gave you your orders? Was it he who told you not to mention that you'd seen this foreign gentlewoman at the scene? Well... Inspector Hosonaga? I was worried something like this may happen. The moment you asked me to submit my sketch as evidence, I realized it was a possibility. Yes, I remember now. He did act strangely when the judge asked him to hand over his business card. I strive to carry out all investigations flawlessly. It's my guiding principle. But I let myself be distracted when I made that sketch. It was an unusually careless mistake. So you mean to say you really are a detective? But why would a detective be working as a restaurant waiter? Now, of course, your salary must be terrible. I was working undercover. Undercover? Yes. There have been a series of incidents at that restaurant recently. In order to investigate, I decided to get a job there as a waiter, working undercover. Incidents at the restaurant? What kind of incidents? That would be classified police information, which I'm not at liberty to divulge. However, I can state categorically that they are unrelated to this case of homicide. Very well then, Inspector Hosonaga, but you will elaborate on one point for the court. Of course, Your Excellency. We have just heard new information from these two witnesses besides you. That at the time of the shooting, there was in fact another person present at the victim's table. If that is indeed true, clearly you would have also been aware of this person's presence, having served at the table in question. However, your testimony did not allude to this other diner, therefore I'm led to assume that in your professional capacity as a police officer, you require these witnesses to be in agreement. Would that be correct? Correct, Your Excellency. Unbelievable! As I suspected. As soon as I heard the gunshot, I ran out of the kitchen to see what had happened. The victim sat slumped in his chair, and beside him, gun in hand, stood the accused student. Sitting opposite the victim at the same table was a young lady, whom I guessed to be the English woman. So the truth comes out. I immediately sealed off the restaurant and reported the incident to the Bureau. It was then that I received some special orders. Special orders? You mean to say... Remove the Englishwoman from the scene at once. It was made clear that the Englishwoman's presence at the restaurant was to be concealed. Those were my orders. But what if this Englishwoman was the killer? I think it would be in everyone's best interest not to pursue that idea. The Empire views the friendly terms of its relationship with Britain more highly than anything at the moment. An Englishwoman has murdered on our soil. To name an Englishwoman as the primary suspect. Well, without irrefutable evidence, that would be completely out of the question. Sorry, I'm being hailed. Sorry, anyway. So that's the reason for the disappearance of the Phantom Woman in this case. But it's not right. One possibility does spring to mind. What do you mean, Cosma? Yuma University is currently hosting a number of exchange students from Great Britain. And I'm fairly certain that one of them, studying the medical facilities research laboratory, is a young Englishwoman. What? You're a shrewd man. I can see why you're the chosen candidate for the overseas study tour. You mean... When I removed this woman from the scene of the crime, I thought it prudent to check her identity first. Then the court demands that you name the lady in question at once, Inspector. The Englishwoman sitting at the university's professor's table was a certain Miss, Giselle Brett. She's indeed a foreign student studying in the research laboratory of Yuma University's medical facility. What is happening here? Dude, guy's tall, shit. I admit that under orders from the police bureau, I erased all evidence of this lady's presence at the scene. And ordered these witnesses to make no mention of her in their testimonies. It must now be up to your excellency to decide how to deal with this situation. Very well. My thoughts on this matter are as follows. Thus far, the case presented to the court has been underpinned by a particularities critical premise. Namely, that the victim was dining alone. However, as we have now discovered that this premise is false, it would be discretion of us justice system to ignore the truth and give a ruling at this point. But, Your Excellency, that would mean missing a noon deadline of the ruling in order to send the telegraphic report to Great Britain. Our own government would surely be very displeased by such actions. Calm yourself, Counsel. I will not allow the government of our country or any other to influence the proceedings of my courtroom. Inspector Hosonaga. Yes, sir. You will locate this Giselle Brett and escort her to the courtroom with the utmost urgency. At once, Your Excellency. But that means you'll be going against the special orders you were given from the police bureau. As I said before, it is my guiding principle to carry out all investigations flawlessly. So it won't be a problem? Nothing will get in my way. Court will be adjourned briefly. The prosecution must call this English student, Giselle Brett, to the witness stand. This goes on long. We're almost 2 hours in. Good gracious. Do I make myself clear? Yes! Your Excellency! Good. Then we will have a 30-minute recess before reconvening. I'm not used to first trials for Ace Attorney having a to-be-continued section. That's crazy. But hey, to be continued is usually what I would call an episode. So, looks like that's going to be the first episode of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I really do appreciate it. This game is so much fun. I love Ace Attorney. Sorry for all the mispronunciation misreadings, by the way. Japanese is obviously not my strong suit, and I was not prepared for the game to... I'm sure these puns are fucking hilarious if you speak Japanese. But anyway, we will pick this up again at a later date. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Have a great night. Catch you later.